Camera's rolling.
Baby, I'm too young to know any better, but I guess I'm just too old to care. I'm waiting on the morning light to clear the air. Now the sky is hung with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the one that you created. The one that you hated. Now the sky is hung with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the one that you.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Dad Talk Today. Mr. Dewayne, what's going on, dude?
Oh man, I am jazzed, excited, pumped, all those wonderful verbs all in one package. I was telling you earlier, man, I've been up since, I went to bed at 4 a.m, just pumped and excited to get back in the saddle again with you and just, do some dad talk today. I am as excited as an old man can get right now.
Dude, that's
How
awesome.
about you?
Man, it's a rainy day here in Georgia. I'm tired. I'm
Okay.
tired. But I am excited too, man. We're going to talk about some of the projects we got coming up. Trailer came out yesterday. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback on that. So we'll talk to you about some of the projects we got going on, guys. If you want to support the show down there at the bottom, Dad Talk Today, no spaces. That's Cash App, Venmo, and Patreon. We got super chats and subscriptions over on YouTube. Got the same thing on Facebook. Make sure to go and follow us on Substack. The community is actually building really quick over there, Dwayne. Have you got to check it out?
I've been checking it out, and actually, I wish we could put a link up. Hopefully, one of our listeners out there can do that. That's a member. Substack. It's a great community. It's growing huge. You're putting out a lot of good content on there. Sometimes it's almost like I'm in church because I'm a member, so I get an email and the topic. I'm like, that's me. Okay, and I will hop in, read it, and go, all right, yep. Throw a comment or two out there. A lot of good information. I would ask, what's your inspiration? Because some of the stuff you're coming up with, I'm like, okay, you got your finger on the pulse. Where are you getting this info?
It's kind of, the weird thing about it, anytime I've done something with Dad Talk, it's like a spur of the moment type deal.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
if I'm looking at a certain subject and I'm thinking about it and I'm like, man, I'd like to talk about that, or I'd like to get some more information out about that. And I'll go doing my research. And I don't know how long the people tuning in have been following Dad Talk. But again, this actually started off as a blog. I didn't know how to do the podcast. I had to get the equipment to do the podcast. Zoom was just coming out. I had no freaking clue on how to do Zoom. I had no idea on video editing. So in the meantime, I think for about like 4 or 5 months, Dad Talk was a blog. And I like writing. So that was one of those things that helped me. But it also, the Substack, no algorithms, dude. I mean, I watched
that was a big one.
Censorship is just real over on these platforms to the point it makes me just want to flick the middle finger and be like, I'm gone. It's really hard when you've sat there and you've put so much time and effort behind these platforms to watch what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I see it getting even worse. Content creators are having a hard time going and making content. It is a very hard job getting on here and doing this every single day. And if they don't support you and don't let your followers see what you're doing, eventually people say, bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they think, oh, well, I guess they're not producing content or they're not interested or whatever. And they walk away. That was one of the things about Substack that I really liked because, even though obviously I'm tuned in to Dad Talk today and, very involved, there's times, I have an alarm set on my phone for when you go live. So maybe I'm a uber nerd on that one, but I won't get notifications on Facebook, YouTube, anywhere, but I get my Substack notifications via email. I guess my email account hasn't figured out how to censor you yet. But yeah, I mean, I'm able to get that, whereas on Facebook or YouTube, I would miss it if I didn't have the alarm set. Food for thought for people out there. Set your alarms.
That's it, man. I mean, that's it. I mean, I apologize. The last week I got away from it. I had to, man.
Yeah. I mean, we talked briefly about it and we kind of knew, I mean, dealing with the stuff that you deal with, that we all deal with, and, getting day after day of that and trying to forge forward, there are times it does get to be too much. Hence, one of your articles on Substack. That was actually one of them that hit me right in the old, if I had a heart, it hit me right there. That on the burnout, just having just so much going on. And, what, folks maybe know or don't know is that just aside from being a handsome face on Dad Talk, you've got all these things going behind the scenes. You're a advocate in every sense of the word, trying to help people personally, trying to advance the cause and do all these different things. And you're one guy, and you've got a family. You have your own personal stuff. So
it's not just that. I'll be honest with you, dude. I think it's gotten to a point. I've been doing this for so long. It seems that I repeat myself a lot. And I think the part that got to me last week was, I don't know what it was about that particular week. There were several custody exchange murders that went on. Yeah. And I find myself on the show feeling like I was doing the same show from 2 years ago and nothing has changed.
And it
was like, this is becoming routine for me to talk about people losing their lives. It's not fun, dude.
Yeah, I mean, aside from all the stuff you got to do, you got to put a brave face on. But you're as I've got to know, you're a feeler. I mean, you're not that two-dimensional or one-dimensional face on the news or something saying, and today another this happened or that. You take these things personally, even though you maybe have never met Bob Jones, whoever it was that it happened to. You feel it. I know you have that personal experience as well. I mean, you've been in the trenches. Heck, you came down here to Texas for Tyrone Darling's one, and you were there, and each time this happens, I'm sure probably sent back to that Robert Mass and all the other ones it gets to you. I get it.
It does, man. I mean, another thing is, like, one thing that has been a little therapeutic for me. I'm hoping that the community supports it the way it needs to be, because there is a lot of work going on. I released that trailer yesterday about the John Mast. This one is going to have a lot of information that the documentary didn't have. It's got a lot of production that the documentary didn't have. We didn't have drones. We didn't have a film crew. It was me and Robert going and doing the best that we could, man. But to see the movement actually getting their stories told in the way that it needs to be, especially John, dude.
That honors it. Yeah.
I love each and every single one of these guys that tune in. John's story, Jonathan Vanderhagen and Brian Adams are three stories that will forever have a special place in my heart, because it was very early on that I started realizing just how deep this thing gets. These are the stories that you're not going to see on the mainstream media that would rival anything that you see on mainstream media. And I couldn't understand why we have such a hard time getting those stories out. I was talking to Warren Farrell the other day, and 59 years he's been doing this, Dwayne. 59 freaking years the guy has been doing this.
Yeah.
He said something to me that just really hit me hard. He said, Eric, in 59 years, everything has changed except for this issue. Nothing's changed.
Right.
Like, wow, dude, how hard is that? I don't want to be looking back 59 years from now saying we did all this work and nothing came of it. So I'm wanting to make this media, because I do believe this has a a show feel to it, right?
Yeah.
This trailer that I'm about to show you guys, I'm producing it a little bit different because I'm trying to get people on the outside in.
Right.
And if the people on the outside can come in, watch these in a way that they're used to watching them, I
Right.
think we can win over an audience that we normally wouldn't have. The back to it, I'm not stupid. I've been doing this for long enough. It's like, this is a lot of work going into it. Is the community going to support it? It is my biggest fear, because there's a lot of work that goes into it. But it was therapeutic to be able to get behind the camera for once, instead of being on the camera and telling the stories. And there's something about the creative aspect. I enjoy it.
Yeah, that is one thing about you that I know. Yeah, you love that, telling that story and how to do it. And, now you're definitely at the point. I mean, you've had a lot of successes along the way, but now you're at the point where you've got, equipment and being able to move those stories forward in the way that honors them. That was another thing too. I mean, if it was, all the people that have been impacted, you cover their story, you get out there, we're joking, about getting like some old crappy Pentax 1980s camera and trying to, shoot a film it, and it would come off as, I don't know, even though you would do your best, it didn't come off as, I guess, honoring, or, it doesn't, you want to capture all the emotions, all the, what's going on, and tell that story that honors the people involved and gets people involved in, I don't want to say excited, because that's just the wrong way to look at it from, from a negative perspective, but you want it to hit people just the right way.
Our main war with this, men's rights, fathers' rights, our main war is the culture war.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Getting people to have sympathy for men, getting people to realize the challenges that dads are going through, but it's fought on two fronts. We have this. I say this podcast is talking to the people that already know what's going on for the most part.
Right.
But to fight that culture war, we've got to go, like I said, to that outside, and they are very hard to reach. And you can't talk to somebody on the outside like we would talk to somebody on this podcast. Right. Somebody had come to the podcast that's not familiar with any of this and be like, what in the hell are these two guys talking about? They're just a couple of yapping mouths. But it's like, you know what? I got a story for you. I don't just want you to watch it from beginning to end. Tell me what you think of it at the end.
Right.
And that's what this is going to be. I'm going to pull us down, Dwayne. Let me get this.
Yeah, let's get that. Yeah, it's an awesome trailer.
For anybody that hasn't seen it, we'll watch this with you and come back on and talk about it, take your questions. And yeah.
Most people see the Amish as people of faith. When you spoke with John, he was a very mild-mannered, just genuine person, and you could tell he was a great father.
The first 10 years of his life, where we were in a really orthodox Amish situation.
I remember the day that John came, we were doing peas. He said that he has starting a relationship with Becky.
He just went to the ends of the earth to try to be in the kids' lives.
Becky did an overdose.
After that, she pretended that everything's okay.
Her life was centered around drama, always.
Marriage starts to break down. They seem to be headed for divorce. They start to argue a lot more.
John took Becky out for dinner.
As they were walking out, John took her arm and guided her.
She said, "Oh."
And that's when she claimed that he hurt her.
Becky did run off with the two children. John did not know where they were. He even put out an Amber Alert.
A detective from the Lewiston Police Department did their own forensic interview when Becky first called them and said there's sexual abuse going on.
Lies. Once those allegations go out, it's like you're marked.
He was very defeated. He was pretty close to hopeless. It was a calamity of errors, a calamity of different things happening in different courts, and John was just falling through the cracks.
John was winning his family law case. He was going to get to have a relationship with his kids.
He said something or someone is going to stop him.
If you ever do anything to me, my dad will come over here and kill you. Becky used that as a threat to just hold that over John.
She wanted to win. She wanted to have these kids, and she wanted to hurt him.
John had just recently rented a 3-bedroom home in preparation for this very moment.
He walks around the front of the van and says, "Hi, John."
I'm shot 3 times in rapid succession.
Get the kids out of there. Get the kids out of there.
Deception. Nothing else.
This was the worst parental alienation case I've ever had.
It's a difficult legal case. The process moves slowly, but it seems to be moving incredibly slowly in this situation. It could happen to anyone.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a familiar face on there. I'm sure a lot of you guys recognize Kevin Hickey that came on here, for a while doing the Q&A sessions. The attorney at the end was the one I was talking about yesterday that showed up down in the comments. That's Chris Smith. I met him in Dallas, and I found out here is an attorney that went and tried to pass a shared parenting bill on his own with no organization, nobody asking him about it. And I was like, hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, man, you went and tried to pass a shared parenting bill. And the more I got to talking to this guy, he's just an amazing, amazing person. So for those of you that don't know, the Jim Brashear trial will actually be going down in September.
It's green lighted.
Oh, it's green lighted. I don't think it's
good.
been moved this time. It's been moved like 5 times. So it's not moving this time, guys. So I'll probably have to be up there in Idaho for that one. However, the one that everybody's been waiting on, and I had to be vague on details, that I understand it, but it also gets under my skin somewhat with the community. It was like I was being vague on details for a reason. Everybody's been saying, hey, I think there was more than the father-in-law that was involved in this. Well, no shit. We all, there wasn't a single person that didn't feel that same way. However, that's not how the legal process goes. It's very slow. I mean, we're over 2 years since John's been killed. We haven't had a court date yet. And in order to be able to find out, it's got to go into a wrongful death lawsuit. Well, the criminal trial with Jim, where he murdered John, that'll be prosecuted, through the public. They won't incur any expenses. This next one, they will. And that's the reason why I have that GoFundMe. Chris Smith will actually be one of the attorneys. There's 2 attorneys that'll be leading that one. And then we'll also have the Jim Brashear trial. So there's 2 different trials coming up, guys. And we're going to need your help. That's why they GoFundMe. Because those trials, they're not going to be cheap.
Not cheap. Yeah.
They're not going to be cheap. But so we're going to have updates, though, in this docuseries that we did not have in I Stand With John. And I want to tell you the difference. When we filmed I Stand With John, it was 2 days since John had been killed. When we filmed this, it had been 2 years. Okay, so the family's gotten to decompress. They've gotten to think about it. But as you could see, mom holding up the boy and the girl's picture, the pain is still there when it gets brought up. And they're holding on to the fact that we're going to get justice for this thing. We're still standing with John. But that is going to be a very powerful one. Some of the places where you saw the images and stuff, it will be replaced. It was just kind of like placeholders. Dude, I've already done several trips to Texas. I did a whole week up there in Idaho with them, with a film crew. I've got to go back to Texas. We got to do voiceovers. We got to do more shooting. We got to do reenactments. When this thing comes together, it is going to be amazing. But that is just one project that's going on right now, Dwayne.
Yeah. One of a number that watching it. And I watched it the first time when it came out, and then seeing it again, it hit. I mean, that security, that detail, and the video brain in me was looking at it. And I'm looking at it from 2 different angles. I'm looking at the production quality of that. The little things, the camera moves every 3 seconds, the bokeh. I mean, you have all the. I can only imagine what it took to edit that alone. That was probably huge.
3 different camera guys, and you got me instructing the story, and then you got a guy that for the past 6 months has been doing full-time editing. So you got several different elements that has been going on in that, plus all the people that we had to interview. Chris and Kevin had to go on their own time, on their own dime to Texas to film that. And that was actually filming in Texas with them. I had already filmed the Idaho parts. On the same day, I'm up in Detroit shooting a new documentary on Jonathan Vanderhagen. So we had 2 projects going on different sides of the country. I'm telling you, dude, like there's some good stuff going on right now, guys. Sophie's story is being edited down right now. I've seen some clips of it, and every one of these are just amazing quality. Sophie's story actually went viral the week that I was recording it on my personal page, not Dad Talk. I made a reel, and when I make my reels, I post it in my personal page. I post it to Dad Talk Today on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And for some reason, it took off on my personal page, got millions of views, dude. And I started having people reach out to me left and right. My personal page went from like 5,000 followers to 30,000 followers that week. And it's still going off of that reel. That is going to be a powerful story. I mean, between Sophie Larson and Killian Vanderhagen, these are 2 children that lost their lives, and we have yet to see justice.
Yeah.
You know,
I was looking at some of the comments as the video was playing, and you know, I just kind of want to throw something out to the crowd. I know this is unscripted, unedited, so hopefully I'll make it through. Guys, I mean, you saw just the trailer there. Finally, we're getting, you know, professional level video to get out to the masses. This is the time.
Never had.
Eric. Yeah, it's never. This is the time to get involved. This is a time, you know, to donate to the cause, to, you know, to participate in the GoFundMe, donate, because you've seen an example of what's come out, and you know, this is movie quality stuff. This isn't, you know, some old guy going, hey, you know, love with his phone. This is professional, scripted, and all that, which is time consuming. I'll tell you that right now. And just the editing, that was a lot of editing, but time and expense to get this done. This is where Eric's at in supporting the entire community to get this stuff done. And it's time for everybody to step in. And I know everyone's got different situations, but if you can help out, I mean, he's brought it. If anyone disagrees, please, you know, let me know if you think you can do better. But he's brought it. He has put his money where his mouth is. It is time for this to get out, get shared, and let everybody know so other people can get involved. This is the story that people can't tell. This is the you know, when, you know, Eric was talking about earlier, when, you know, people outside the movement look in or talks to, unfortunately, some of the people have been involved, we're so hurt, we're so whatever, they just tune out and go on to their, you know, their kitten videos on YouTube. This is something that is going to grab people's attention and hold them and pull them in and change this around. So
in a way, nothing else will. In a way, nothing else will, dude. We've thrown everything we can against the wall, and it was one of those, it's now or never. That's why I said, this is my last, I think this is my last big hoorah, Dwayne. If this one doesn't go through, I'm really going to have to reconsider my life. Cause dude, I've got 5 other projects in the works right now, with 3 being mixed down. No, 4 being mixed down. 4. And so I think another amazing part of this is every one of those that you saw, not a single dime came from this community. Not one stinking penny came from it. We didn't ask for donations. I Stand With John was completely crowdfunded. We put everything we had into that, and we did what we could with what we had, and I'm very proud of it. I can look back at it now and say, man, I wish I would have had drone shots. I wish I would have had another camera guy, but we did with what we had. There has been no expense spared on these, and it's just up to the community to consume them and make sure they're watching it so that we can show mainstream, so that we can show the networks, one, we don't need you, and there is an audience that wants to see this because it's real life. This is what people are going through. And I'm just stepping out on faith that it's going to happen. Do me a favor, guys. If you're watching this, like it.
Yeah.
Little things like that. Like it. share, subscribe, ding the bell. Yeah, so knowing that hard work, that one clip, there's been a year of work going into that one clip. It's getting closer. It's definitely getting closer. I know you've been working on the Henderson doc. You know, that one's been a little hard because I would love to have some help that we could give to Dewayne to help get that one finished off, where he, you know, where we went and shot this documentary on Henderson, where his kid died from cancer and he was being blocked. I mean, these are stories that need to be told, man. They really do. Derek said, what if I rented a theater and broadcasted these? That is actually one of the ideas that we're talking about doing, guys. It's just, here's my thing. It was my brainchild. Absolutely. My brainchild. I'm the one that's sitting there telling the story, but I had a lot of help in making these. And so if I go, I want my guys that worked hard on this to go with me. I want it to be a moment where the movement can come together and say, look at what we did. We'll do Q&As and stuff afterwards. But anytime I talk about ideas like that, I'm saying plane tickets, hotels, stuff like that. So I do want to do something similar to that, though, because I do believe when Sophie's comes out, that area was completely invested in that story. I think they will love to watch that story. John Mast, I think that local community would love to see this story. I would like to get some of these in theaters and stuff, but here's my deal, guys. I'm not stupid. I've been doing this for long enough. When have we ever gotten assistance from the mainstream or the big networks? We don't. I'm planning on going completely rebel, rock and roll. I don't need you. I'm going to do it with these guys and who I've got. And if you don't get on, screw you. We're going to do it anyway. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the Substack, which I also think I'm going to be checking into locals. I'm going to talk about making that platform. But guys, we have got to get away from social media. The bigger I get on here, the less people I reach. And when these projects come out, I can't just sit there and depend on what they're going to do at the algorithm today. You know, that's the thing that sucks about it. You put all this hard work in it and you grow an audience, and then you don't even get to reach your audience anymore. Do you think this movement's going to be able to exist on that? Because I don't.
Oh, no. Yeah, Facebook and InstaSnap and TalkTick and all those, can't rely on them. They would rather, actually, I made a video just last night, a short one. They're going to promote things that, you know, that interest them, and they're going to hold back things that, you know, should get out, but don't. I mean, it's all, and being, you know, being held captive to that environment, it just, it hasn't worked. I mean, you've grown your audience. I would say largely through people liking and sharing it, opening their phones up. I mean, this is stuff you can do for free. You can open your phone up, link to that video on Dad Talk, and go to your personal friends list and click all the way down. You can do like 20 at a time and send it out. That's a minute and a half a time. That's the level that this needs to be at as far as the current social media. But yeah, investing in other platforms and ways to get this out that aren't dependent on an algorithm, that's going to be the way to go.
Cowboy, he said, by that logic, have you considered moving to Twitter more, streaming and dropping videos there? We did. Dude, I used to stream on a daily basis, but see, Twitter's a weird animal too, dude.
Yeah.
I'll be as, you know, open and transparent as I can. Dad Talks, all of our social media was rocking and rolling. The second that I started going and talking to politicians, I started facing censorship, unlike you can believe. I started getting community standards left and right. I started watching my reach drop, and Twitter was one of the world's worst, dude. Like, we never got any traction on Twitter, although all of the other social medias are blowing up. So it was like, okay, I can't put time and effort into this. Because listen, every time we say, hey, there's another platform, you need to go do that, somebody's going to operate it. And back then, it was me, myself, and I. Operating every single one of them, doing the podcast, doing the traveling, the whole 9 yards, dude. And so I didn't look at it as much. I will tell you, the week after Elon Musk bought Twitter, I got more followers in that week than I did in the whole year prior. I was like,
pure coincidence.
Yeah, pure coincidence. That's weird. It's got to be built and everything over there, man. But right now, my focus isn't as much on social media as it is getting these films out and making sure that they get out there. What I would love to do is be able to go on other shows and show these clips. I have to believe if we showed those clips on a show, somebody's going to see that and say, holy crap, I want to see that. That sounds like an interesting story. You know, for us, it's real life. That's the problem. John Mast was not a story to me. He was a father that came asking for my help. I'm not stupid enough to not know that if somebody on the outside hears about that, they might be intrigued by the story. So
yeah,
I'm kind of banking on the fact that, hey, you'll come to hear the story, but you're going to get my advocacy in the middle of it. You know, that's the plan. So I'm trying to put more of my efforts over there. And people ask all the time, what can we do? What can we do to make this movement go? You can share this stuff, dude. You can share this stuff. You can support it. Who else is doing it? If you want me to be honest with you, who else is going to be crazy enough to do the things that we did for the last 4 years? I don't know anybody. I'm going to tell you, I don't know anybody that would get into the first 6 months of some of the stuff we did, Dwayne, and still be here. And it was one of those, even as miserable as it makes me sometimes. Like, I had to get away from it for the last week. I'm back. I'll never walk away.
In your blood. Yeah.
It's in my blood. I know what's going on. I know what these guys are up against, and I'm not stupid enough to not realize, like, some of the stuff we've got going on. I think it's our best shot. And I haven't completed that yet. I want to complete these projects, see them through, and we'll go from there. I've gotten some talks with some higher ups when these come out. Yeah. And we'll see where these end up getting distributed. For the ones that I'm going to be making from now until the rest of the year, they're going to be over on the Substack. I've got some other ones that are going to be pitched in other places. So we'll just have to wait and see how those get distributed. I do know in the meantime, when some of these docs come out, they'll be like pay per view, like $5 each time you watch it.
Yeah.
Dude, we've got to ask, guys, this whole thing about, like, is people making money or something off this? Wipe that crap out of your head. Here's the thing. The reality is we need money to carry this movement forward, and we don't have it. This is another way that I'm trying to create funding, because maybe people will pay to watch this because we've gave them an entertaining piece of media, and then we can get that. And you know what happens if I make money off that, Dwayne? I'm going to go make more media.
Yeah. You don't have a boat in Italy or something that you're going to go relax on or something.
No, I mean, most people aren't crazy enough to do some of the stuff I'm doing. They'll make a doc. I've got 9. I've got 9 in production right now. And I'm like, dude, if I could get, through the first one, I'll probably add another 9 more and have 20 going at the same time. I'm trying to build the crew to where I can do my part, find the stories, tell it, have a crew that's putting that together while I'm moving on to the next one. That way we can just keep it rolling, because it's, that's one thing I learned about I Stand With John. I Stand With John did really good, but I didn't have anything to follow it up with besides the podcast. Right. And I hate to say it, it seems like on social media, and in this movement in particular, I'm not trying to crap on you guys. I'm giving you that God's honest truth, okay? When we have these situations at custody exchanges or something happens to a kid, everybody shows up. The next week, it goes down. The next week, it goes down. Until we have some tragic event again, and it comes back up. Then it goes back down, and it goes back down. Why aren't you caring before that happens? Because I can tell you, even today, there's one of those situations about to happen. Might not be today. It could be tomorrow. There is another John Mast about to happen. There is another Sophia Larson about to happen. There is another Killian Vanderhagen. And we have got to create our own media. The media controls the narrative. So what happens when you become the media? You have a little bit more control of that narrative. And if we don't fight that culture war, it's game over for us, man. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, that is how things are going to change. If they're going to change, is people have to get involved. They have to, again, it's, part of it's a simple formula: like, share, subscribe, donate, or purchase the things that are being produced. I mean, it's not even donating anymore.
I'm not. If somebody wants to donate, that's great. Yeah. I tell you what I'd love you to do. I'd love you to go and subscribe to that Substack.
Right.
You get on that Substack, and I'm trying to create resources right now. $10 a month, and it's $100 if you do it for a year. So you save $20 instead of paying $120. You'll get it for $100.
Mm.
You get the monthly meetings. You're going to get these films. You're going to get the articles. You're going to get the sneak peeks. I'm trying to make it exciting to say, come over here. So when this comes out, I kind of already know that I've got the support for it, because if I got the support for it and it pays for itself, by the time I do it, I'm going to be making the next.
Right.
I promise you. I want to have a library of this stuff. That way, whether it's CPS, false allegations, parental alienation, family court, whatever it is, if you find this person that doesn't know what it is we're talking about here, that isn't going to listen to you talk about statistics, that doesn't want to hear about the problems that you had with your baby mama, you're not going to be able to reach them. You'll have a documentary or some piece of media that you can pull and say, watch this.
Mm-hmm.
That's you know, it can be used. It's a war chest, man.
And that's, I mean, yeah. And again, are you still doing the founding member thing on Substack?
I am.
Cool.
So one of my, for some reason, I've had a really hard time with getting shirt designers. One of my plans is I'm going to make a founding member shirt. I'm putting more time into this because I want to design it really cool and make it look real manly, have stuff on the sleeve. I actually want it to say on the shirt, founding member of Dad Talk, for helping us with this. And that's going to come with that yearly subscription as well. I'm going to send you that shirt. You're going to, once a month, we're going to have the monthly meeting. And I tell you what, dude, that was really cool the other day because I got to be one of the boys. There was 10 people that showed up to that one for our very first one. I don't think that's bad. And made sure we said, look, nobody's going to be able to talk outside of this about anything you hear. It's a safe space for guys to talk. And everybody opened up, and we need more of that, dude. We continually say in this community, hurt people, hurt other people. What if we become hurt people healing together?
Turn that pain into purpose.
Turn the pain into purpose. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So you'll get that monthly meeting. And then my plan was, if you are subscribed to that Substack, I'll release the films on there and you'll have access to all of these things when they come out. That's how I want to do it, because I at least know this is the support that I've got before I move forward, so I don't go and get myself in the hole.
Again,
this type of media, this ain't making a podcast. That ain't cheap, bud. It ain't one bit whatsoever. But I've also got some other stuff we was talking about before we came on. This media, this movement doesn't have any media coming out that makes you smile. It's very heavy. And so there's another deterrent. If I'm somebody that's having a good day, I want to laugh. I don't know if I want to come and hear this. Maybe we can make some stuff that has some uplifting stuff to it too, that steps out. So I'm also making some media. I got one about music. I got some coming out about sports. And for every like family law thing I do, I'm going to try to counter it with something else, not only to help with the people that's coming in there, so it's not just depressing content all the time, but to help with myself. Dude, I did 3 documentaries back to back when I was on that last trip. The first one about Sophie, 5 years old, passed away, overdosed on mom's drugs. Second one, father that committed suicide, went through all the stuff that we're talking about here. Third one, 18-month-old baby boy that died. By the time I got home, my brain was Swiss cheese, dude. And it's there is times that you get that rough exterior, and it's like, I'm going to pay attention enough to know where to tell you to talk next, but I can't listen to you. And then that sucks. That's the reality behind it. There's many times when these guys are talking to me, I'm like, I can't sink it in anymore, dude. Because I end up like a sponge, and then I go and lay down at night, and my life is miserable. Yeah, it's full, man. And so I think we've got to create more people to help with that. Because not one person can do it. And no matter how many people say they want to help, because I'm Eric with Dad Talk and people want to tell their story on the podcast, most of the time they come to me. And I can't. Dude, if I don't sit down with you on the phone for 3 or 4 hours, it's not because I don't care about you. I'm on here doing what we're doing because I love you and we care about you. You cannot consume that. And unless you've been a person that sits there and talks about this all day, You don't know what that does to you. It's heavy, guys. It's
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, my pissed off parent persona and stuff, trying to help out where I can. Yeah, it just that the stories, the emails, the inbox, and these people that are just hurting, and I try to help where I can, but yeah, there's just only so much in the tank that I got. That's why we need other people. Quick plug for the Dad Talk Today support group. It's free. Go over there, join, get in the community, share, talk, get help, get turn the pain into purpose. Your story, if you're 3 years into your situation, there's going to be a new guy or girl that comes in that's just starting out. Take them under your wing. I mean, that's the only way it's going to, as far as, healing, that's the way it's going to work. It's going to be people relying on people.
It is. I mean, we
That's-
all rely on each other. And even remember this, guys, even the guys you see on the screen, we need this too.
Yeah.
So when we put our own trauma on the back burner to come on here and to help other people, we just keep piling up the weight on ourselves. And now we're taking that weight and putting it on there. And then where is our space to go and do that? That was what was cool. Like I said, I looked at the guys the other day and was like, hey, I do this with you guys all the time. You mind if I join in? And dude, I talked about things I've never told the audience about. Now, the more that you get to talk to each other, it's just like, we all go through the same shit, man.
Sometimes
you realize
that helps.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
So
yeah, as far as I mean, when we hear stories and stuff, I was gonna say, I don't know about you, but I do know about you. But when we hear about a custody exchange murder, your mind goes to 3 people definitely. I go to Tyrone, I go to other situations where I hear someone talking about their story. And I relive that trauma that either I personally went through or was somewhat involved with, and then I gotta smile and keep moving on, just like you. And we need to have everybody in this thing.
I think one of the problems that I have with those stories is like talking to the parents or the family of these guys when they get killed, because they're hearing it for the first time and they're just now learning about this process. And I'm over here like, here comes the same rodeo again. They all get told the same things. Most of them are looking for justice right away. Justice doesn't come quick and swift. It usually takes a long time.
Years.
The attorneys will come to them and say, hey, we don't want you talking about it. Don't get out there in the media. So they think they're going to be quiet and that's going to help them. And actually, in the long run, it hurts them, because just because you tell the family not to talk about it doesn't mean it's not being talked about. And if this is a father that got killed, the world, because of this narrative, this culture, is finding every reason why it was justified for that to happen. They're not looking to how he was innocent. They're looking, he was man, he's bad, dad's bad. What did he do? And so that narrative forms against them. And then by the time it goes to trial, and then they've got to counter this crappy ass mainstream media, nobody wants to talk to him because it's not the flavor of the week anymore.
Exactly. They moved on. Yeah.
And so I know how to fight it. The one thing was, like, even though John Mass was my first of that kind, we did a lot of things right on that one. And it was purely speculation, because I didn't know how to handle that. I never thought I was going to be the guy talking about custody exchange murders. We were just going to talk about the challenges men were going through in divorce. It was a new one, but I knew John had been through false allegations. So when I started seeing it go around the media, I went in there, read a couple of the comments, and I said, they are going to paint this dad to be a hero because John went through the silver bullet. And I saw some of the comments that was leading up to that. I went to every single media outlet at that point, Dwayne, and said, there is another part of this story. The father was on my show 2 months prior to this. He was innocent. He proved his innocence in every way. Please get with me. I'll allow you to use the clips. There is another side to this. And dude, they did. They did. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
There's one thing I will say. Like, if people do right, I have to give them that. Every once in a while, you'll find a good attorney or a good judge or a good media. It's very, very rare. But KLEW, they're in Lewiston, Idaho. I really had so much respect for, because they turned around, they came and covered. It was the best coverage I've ever seen on parental alienation, dude. And when we did that rally outside of the courthouse, I mean, dude, there was a street full all the way down the road, people holding up signs, parental alienation is child abuse. John was killed for loving his kid. Everybody walking by was honking their horns and putting their hands in there. And I'm like, you realize how big of a moment this is, because even though we're tiny, we're fighting back against the narrative, and people are actually listening to the story rather than judging for once. Right. Because that was big news there. You got to understand that scope of the land up there. Like, they didn't just hear about it in that local town. Like, for a couple 100 miles away in each direction, they heard about that story, because there's smaller communities.
Right,
so when you're up there and you mention John Mast, people know who you're talking about. They know exactly who you're talking about. But the media, we countered it right away, because I knew if I didn't get on that quick, it was going to start painting this guy out to be a hero. And look, dude, even to that point, there was still somebody that went and made a GoFundMe for the guy.
I was going to comment on that. Yeah, I remember saying that to you. Like, they're making a GoFundMe for the murder, the alleged murderer. How can they do that? And when you read through the comments, they were already painting their version of the events. I remember in the Tyrone Darling one here local, when I got a chance to meet the mother. I went into data statistic mode, and I gave her kind of a 30-second rundown of what she can expect, that in 6 months, a year, or 2 years, when they get around to it, they're going to try to offer little things. And she's like, she's drinking it in, but getting prepared for it. But for the people, the family of the victim, they go through a lot of bad stuff, and they're being told by the DA not to talk about it. So they keep quiet. But then, on social media, friends, family, old supposed friends are all doing their version of it. And then 2 years later, when the truth finally gets to come out, it's, it doesn't lead, because it no longer bleeds, and everyone's on to the next thing.
Well, so I think one of the things that the community has got to learn, and they got to understand this, I don't think I've talked about this as much, is strategy. If something seems vague on the screen, or we're not telling you all the details, it could be for a reason. You understand? We're still trying to progress and move forward, but the reason we're vague is for a reason. And that couldn't be any more true than when you talk about the John Mast case. When you see this new one, when it comes out, you'll realize just how much ground we were covering that we weren't allowed to talk about, Dwayne.
Right.
And it was hard. Because even then, there was people, they need to go after her. It's like, do you know what it costs to go after her? And then again, what happened last time somebody showed up to go get the kids? That's the consequences. I think, again, men, we have emotions, and your emotions are rightfully so with a lot of this. But sometimes we'll speak out of that emotion before thinking, what is going to be the consequence of me just coming out and doing this without really sitting there and getting a strategy? You got to have a strategy with everything you do, guys. I can tell you this, every step that I get, I'm usually 10 steps ahead. How is it going to perceived? What's it going to do? How are we going to pull it off? But you're not going to hear me talk about that on the screen, because you have to let out what you can while you can. And at the same time, you don't go around telling people, I'm going to war. This is where we're going to be. This is what time. This is how we're going to fight it. This is where everybody's going to be standing. This is what you don't do that. You have to plan. You have to know where you're going, but you have to trust the people that are leading that they are going to do what's right for you when they go to fight.
Right.
And so that's something I would really ask for the community. I mean, look at what's happening right now. We got this media coming out for you. I've been working hard on it for like the past year. You've heard me blurb about it a little bit, but here you go. It's coming. Make me proud. I say make me proud. You don't even have to like me. You can hate me, but when this media comes out, it's for you. It is. If you're somebody that's wanting to see this movement move forward, it's for you.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, this is going to help everybody's case, because Well, I mean, think about it. Let's go back years for different people. When some crazy person came to you and talked about they were being alienated, or they're being gaslit, or their kids have been taken from them, or they were paying crazy child support, or they were hurt in court, and you had no experience that, you had no exposure, you probably thought they were crazy. I mean, I can eat a little crow myself on that. And then when you go through it, or you see this happening more and more, you go, oh, okay, then it doesn't seem so crazy. And again, with the custody exchange murders, the first one came out, it was like, oh, that's a one-off. Well, through your efforts, we now know this is a large issue, and more people are being exposed to it. That's the thing that people, they need to understand that. I don't know. There's so many things to say about that.
I'm building the Substack for a reason, Dwayne.
Yeah. There we go.
Doing some of the things that I'm doing. We were talking about the Unborn Child Support Act for a reason, guys.
Oh, gosh.
And like, you get no shortage of people showing up saying you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Well, when we do, and nobody goes and does the follow-up work, we become talking heads. Yeah. But that is, you got to understand, that is our participation. That is one of the things we can do best, is get it out there for the people that need to know. We can't be the ones that do it, plan it, fund it, execute it, everything. You got to come together, dude. You wouldn't just send a war general to the battle by himself. And that's what it is a lot of times. I'm going to tell you, I still look back at that. I talk about it all the time. I'm going to talk about it again. Jeff Younger, when he went to UNT, he had a few advocates that was there with him, but he was up against the army, dude. He had the whole school in there ready to tear his head off. And then outside, they were just waiting for him to leave. And I'm like, we could have matched that. We really could have matched that. And it gets to a point to where you ask yourself, the people that are fighting hard, you're saying, what could I have done better? And that's unfair to advocates like me and you. That's unfair to people like,
oh boy, trigger moment.
They could have done. They did everything they could do, instead of asking what they can do better. You know what I mean? I don't want this to become like bashing on the movement session, guys. But I mean, it's hard to even call it a movement sometimes. It really is. And the only thing that keeps me in here is I know how big it is. I know how bad it is. I am one of those guys. You heard me going through my story not long ago. You know why that's my story? Is because I'm a man. I'm a dad. If it was the other way around, I wouldn't have to be telling you the things that I'm telling you right now. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's, again, it goes back to the movement, getting involved, talking about this stuff, sharing it, and just getting people involved, because if one or two people, and it's the same one or two people, again, this battle's not going to be won by Eric or Dwayne or Bob or Joe or Mike or Cowboy Crypto or Defiant Smash or Paul. It's going to be won by everybody coming together, people that have been involved in it and people that know nothing about it, all coming together to get this done. That is the way this is going to get solved finally.
Might I add, I don't want it to be me.
Right. Yeah. Well, you said that a million times.
I don't. I'm serious.
And
I'm very antsy to go and work on some other stuff, man. But I haven't been able to pull away because I know what it means. You know,
I mean, you're invested emotionally big time in seeing this done, because you can see it. I mean, you know the statistics, you know the data, you know what would happen if we finally got this across the finish line. It'd be so good for so many people, children, parents, society as a whole. And you know what the answer is, but you're like, come on, guys, let's all get there. And getting those people on that train to do it and helping out how they can.
Well, I think, again, I'm not just trying to promote my Substack, guys, but get over to the Substack. I'll check out locals. We've got to have a unified effort. Mike Whitney, I hope that makes you feel good. You talk about it all the time. But we are only as good as the people that participate. And it's not like we can just say, because we're voices here, we're going to unify, let's make an alliance, and everybody's going to show up and be hunky-dory. That don't happen that way. But if we could go in there and form a place where the drama is a little bit more non-existent, and then when people come in, we're helping them to heal and saying, what are you good at? Then you do this. right? I have to be careful. I can't even strategize like that on social media, Dwayne, because why? You know how many times I've seen organizations, they'll make these pages, they'll get hundreds of thousands of followers, they assign somebody to it, and somebody goes off and steals the page and stuff like that, and then you're left with all that hard work you did for nothing.
Yeah.
And then watching the two bicker online about who did what. And there goes the strategy again. It's like sometimes the strategy is doing what you can alone. And that sucks, dude. I'm a very people person. I love doing stuff. I mean, hell, even like what we're doing for Jimmy right now, man. Letting him build a show on the network. I want to see more of that. If I could find like 5 or 6 more Jimmys and just get some of these shows going, I'd love to get myself off the screen more so I can go do more of what I was showing you in this trailer.
Right.
That's really, dude, I promise you, that's where my heart is. I enjoy that.
Mhm.
I don't enjoy the stories that I'm telling, but seeing the families who haven't got justice come back and say, finally, my son's story was told the way it needed to be told. That's what gets me going, dude. That's what gets me going, because I know that if we don't do it, nobody else is.
Right.
Nobody else is. But even in the interim, while they're waiting for something to go on in the courts, they feel like, you know, they might have lost their life, but their voice is still living on. That's what we're giving back to people with that, dude. I don't know that you can really find anything more powerful than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Robert Mast, I mean, he told you knowing that someone cared is what got them through the night at times, knowing that, you know, you were invested in that whole process, sharing the story, keeping his keeping his son's memory alive. That's what did it. Yeah, and I'm glad you actually mentioned
the
Jim.
sister, dude. The sister, Katie. I want people to realize how hard this is for the Mast family. I try not to talk about them as much. They are very, 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 I cannot, very times 1,000 private people.
Yes.
They do not want to be doing what you're seeing now. The only reason they are doing that, one, is justice for John and those grandbabies. And 2, they know that John's story had purpose beyond the grave.
Right.
They tell me this all the time. And when I tell you this isn't somebody like, oh, I don't want to be on the screen, but they really do. They do not want to be doing this. And I mean, you just got to even think, even though they're not Amish anymore, I want you to understand the extent of that, guys. When they were younger, you weren't even allowed to look in a mirror. Okay. Because that makes a vain image of yourself from that religion.
Yeah.
If somebody did come with a camera, they weren't allowed to look at the camera. They had to look away. Cameras were completely against everything they stood for. The fact that they're doing this, even another one, I hope I'm not stepping out of line by saying this, but I want people to know, even going in the wrongful death lawsuit, you're not supposed to sue. You're not supposed to go into court. And they, as much as they wanted justice for John, it was like, we're not supposed to do this. So they were torn between the ideals and everything. You know why? I think a lot of that case is moving forward. Don't get me wrong. The family wanted to see that happen, but there was numerous times I felt like the butthole that got in there is like, you've got to do it. Like, there's no questions. You've got to do it. Because it's the only way you're ever going to get closure. It's the only way you're going to find out anything. I don't want to talk too much more on that, but there's some of the sacrifice. They're doing that because they know that this story can inspire and help others if people hears John's journey. When you support this, you're not just supporting me, you're supporting the Mast. You're actually supporting them. I'm a very little part of that. I'm just in there being the conduit, trying to help tell the story. That GoFundMe, guys, I think it's right at like $5,500 now. I set the goal for $50,000. That sounds like a lot of money. That's nothing when you go into the courtrooms. Nothing. That goes directly to the Mast family. That is set up in the sister's name. And just to give you a little bit more behind the scenes, the sister that's going to was standing there with John when he got shot. John died in her arms.
Yeah.
He did. Could you imagine if that was you and you watched this happen? Dude, John told them not to come, Dwayne.
Yeah.
John, he was so excited going to get his kids. His brother Steve lived 4 hours away. Betty did too. And they called because they was worried about their brother. And he said, I'm going to be okay. And there was something inside their head that said, screw that. We're going anyway. And look,
4
they
hours.
were right, man. And they was there to back up John. And then they sat there and watched it. So that's who you're supporting. And if we can't do stuff like that as a movement, what the hell can we do, man? I mean, honestly, what can we do? Do we have to question stuff like that? One of the most saddest and proudest moments for me was about a month ago, sitting there in Colorado in front of the tombstone of Sophia. I had forgot about it. We've done so much stuff. I had literally forgot about it until I was planning that trip out to Colorado. And Alec told me, he's like, you get to see the tombstone you helped buy. I was like, oh my God, dude. And then guys, when you see those videos of little Sophia at her school play, 5 years old, man, she was so full of life. It's still, I can only imagine the denial that family goes through. Because you see that video, that little girl that's so full of life, it doesn't seem real, Dwayne. Nothing about it seems real. She was all smiles, happy. If that night wouldn't have happened, she would still be here smiling, happy and hyper. It don't make sense, dude. It don't make sense. But there's little things that we can do as a community. Now, does that solve the overall problem? No, but it's a part of it because it's teaching this community to have empathy for people outside of their own situations. It's showing that when am I my brother's keeper? Yeah, I am. If one of my brothers goes through this, we're all going to lock arms. We're going to do what little we can, and everybody doing a little goes a long way. And this is one step of making sure this community, this movement, whatever you want to call it, is going in the right direction. That if we can all start doing a little bit and we can show the support behind it, we can do this. But until we can see some of these smaller things pulled off, people want to jump and go straight to the top. It's not going to happen that way. Slow your roll. Start small and let's build. I mean, I should probably tell myself that when I go and try to create 9 films.
Yeah, I was going to be like, 9 films.
I can do that before I can get this movement to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
The sad fact about it.
Yeah, it's it gets back kind of the movement and getting people doing wow. And I'm just thinking 9 films, coordinating that alone is probably a logistical nightmare because these aren't all all located in one area. That's all over the country, different crews, different this, different that, different scenarios, trying to get all that coordinated. But yeah, that's where again the community's got to come together, rally behind Dad Talk Today, and get on Substack, get that membership going and show that, hey, I've got X amount to work with. I can go ahead and finish these 9 videos. I mean, again, the commercial or the trailer that you saw was professionally done. That is the representative of the work that probably what's going to come out of those 9 films. They're going to be professional level where you can show friends, show people that aren't familiar with it, and they're going to be pulled in and react to it and hopefully take action. People just have to get behind this and like, share, subscribe, all those things. That's what it's going to take. Getting into the Dad Talk Today support group community. Everyone's been hurt. I mean, that support group is full of hurting people. Getting in there, and even though you're hurting, helping somebody else. That empathy that you were talking about.
It's hard to see outside of your own story. And I guess that maybe was why I needed a break after last week. I got gaslit into telling my story that I've tried to stay away from. Mm-hmm. And it got those emotions going again, and I wasn't thinking straight. I hate reliving that, dude. I literally hate reliving that more than anything in my life. And there is a reason why I try to keep that at bay and keep the focus on what we're doing here. And then even getting into that, and then I started going back into that, you know, what can I do? I exhausted everything I knew to do up until that point and had to put it on hold and do what I'm doing right now with Dad Talk just to keep my sanity, you know? And I'm going to tell you, I don't regret a single bit of it. I was there for John Mast. I was there for Jonathan Vander Hagen and these parents. And that wasn't due to my own trauma. It wasn't me trying to go after my story when I did that. That helped me, because I created brotherhoods. I created family out of that I could call right now, and they would be there for me just as much as I would be there for them. And I'm going to tell you, that's a beautiful thing, guys. If we can create that here, you hurt people, don't go hurt other people. Understand that there is other people hurting just like you. And if we come in here and we build upon each other, learn how to trust again. That is another hard thing for you guys. After you've been burned by your ex, by the courts, you have a hard time trusting again. If you even hear that something's going to cost $1, oh my God, Title 4D money on this Snickers bar that guy's buying right now. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's not. And these people aren't your ex. You've been used to fighting in family court and trying to find any little bit of mud that you can sling at somebody or any of their imperfections. Dude, we all have imperfections, but you are hurt people trying to make this thing better. Don't go hurt other people. Get in here and help people. If you want to learn how to heal yourself, if you want to know how to make this movement better, get out there and help people. If you can't do nothing for yourself at this moment in time, it doesn't mean you can't do something. If you go and help other people, it can help you.
Very therapeutic.
I could have never, ever read that note that I did to the community 2 or 3 years ago, ever, because my trauma was just so great. Through doing what I've done, hearing the John Mast and the other stories, I had to check myself in the mirror and say, you're not as bad as you think it was. And there's other people that's going through pain. There's more in this world than you. And now I can go back and look at it and say, I'm another statistic. I'm just another statistic, right? That doesn't mean I don't still have that fire under my ass from it to go and do something about it. I would love to see us as men create a safe space for other men and encourage them. Love the unlovable. That can be hard.
Oh, yeah.
That can be hard. Trust me. The ones that show up in the comments, nobody loves me, nobody does. Oh, my God, dude. Listen to yourself. You know, that's why. And it's going to be hard to listen to those guys sometimes.
But some of the media that you've put out, though, like getting Jimmy on, I mean, he is over the last few shows, he has definitely laid out, hey, this is how you can, you know, heal and survive and, you know, get to another day by, you know, getting your mind, soul, and spirit in line. And, you know, one way to do that is to go and help other people. That is, I mean, that's therapeutic. And I'm talking from personal experience. Helping other people heals you. I don't know how else to say that. You know, donating your time, you know, getting involved in local charities, doing different things, sharing with people, community. That's, you know, I do it. And again, you know, I was hosed by my entire family a couple times, and I've been through my stuff. I didn't let that stop me. And I'm not saying I'm better than anyone or worse than anyone, but I turned that pain into purpose. I said, you know what? Even though this happened, I'm going to trust again. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to get involved and help other people. And that's actually, I hate to almost be selfish here, that's almost benefited me more than, you know, going to a soup kitchen on a weekend and helping people there, or doing a run or organizing a charity or whatever. That's been therapy for me. And I would invite other people to do the same type of stuff. I mean, everyone's at a different point in their journey, but, you know, turning that pain into purpose. I mean, it should become a catchphrase. Turn your pain into purpose. When you feel like you can't do it, donate your time. Be there, be a listening ear for somebody else. You know, we've got actually got some senior leaders in the overall movement here in the chat. I'm seeing it. You know, those guys and girls, they wake up every day. I know a number of them personally. They wake up every single day and move forward and help other people, not even asking for anything in return. I mean, their heart's in the right place, but they've been hurt. I won't name names in here, but they've been hurt drastically, and the pain is there every single freaking day. But they still go out and they help, and that's therapy for them. It can be therapy for you too.
I think everybody has their own ideas. They have their own direction that they think it needs to go through. Unfortunately, I think when you're on the camera and people see you a lot, it's like I bring my ideas to them, do it. It's it's unfair, man. I mean, it just is. It's unfair. Instead of saying, hey, you know what you guys need to do? Why don't we change the question to, hey, how can I help? That's what I would like to see more of. Hey, how can I help? How can I support? How can we take some of that weight off your shoulders? And how can we support these efforts that you're doing, rather than saying, instead of supporting what you've already done and looking at the 9 projects you already got, there's another idea that you need to do. You see what I'm saying? Because that's what it feels like sometimes. Not dumping on people. I'm giving you the honesty. It's the reason why people burn out. It's transparency. That's the reason why people burn out. Finding out ways you can help. When we say to like the broadcast, when we say share, when we say to ring the bell, again, that is to make sure that this is getting out there, because when these films and all this other stuff comes out, we are only as strong as the support that we are getting.
Simple formula, guys.
It is it. We are only as strong as that we are getting. And so eventually, if what people already got going out doesn't get support, how in the hell do you think they're going to start something else? We need support. And you know what? It's okay to have ideas, as long as the resources and the community is there to support those ideas. One thing I do like about what you're talking about, Mike, I do think a think tank would be great. The one thing that scares me about a think tank is we get in there and throw ideas and there's no footwork. And then you end up wasting a lot of your breath. And then with social media and some of that, we don't have the structure for a think tank yet. Substack, follow me, guys. Get over there. You can join the Substack for free. If you don't have the money, you can join it for free. All the other extra perks and stuff like that need the subscription. But get over there so that you actually get notified of when stuff's coming out. If men can build this country, they can build the roads, they can build that White House up in DC, they can fight wars, they can make this world go around. Why the hell can't we do this?
I ask myself that every single day, actually.
I'm telling you, people aren't dreaming big enough, brother.
Yeah, it's the think tank. Well, going back to Substack, I mean, that's an area that you can, sit and actually, in people's communities. It doesn't need to be, an Eric or a Dad Talk Today situation or a pissed off parenting or whatever. In your community, you can do things. Think, how can I affect change? How?
So here, now, talk about transparency, Sabrina. She said, that's what I'm asking. How can we help? What do you need help with? Beyond like, share, subscribe, financial help, what do you need? That's one of the most common things that I get is, how can I support you outside of monetary or like, sharing, and subscribe? Dude, that's the one that we need. That is the one that right there, when it comes to supporting what Dad Talk does, is what we need. And then once we can do that and get control of what we've got going on, we can do more.
Mm-hmm.
We're not at the place to do more yet. We're just not. Just creating media and trying to keep up on these stories, to make the podcast, to make the films, doing the things that we do. We are tapped. We are way beyond tapped. We make it happen anyway. But though I get asked that a lot, how can I help other than this? It's like, well, that's what everybody asks, and we're saying that's the way to help. And so,
yeah, it is a way to help. Yeah, and when we're saying like, share, and subscribe, it's not just on social media. It's and this would be a little bit of expense, but get a Dad Talk Today T-shirt, be that billboard, as it were. Go out there when you like, share, subscribe. Is when you're having conversations with people, you can have that conversation and go, hey, check out Dad Talk Today podcast. This and then they go, oh, new people come in. That increases everything, getting more and more people involved.
I thought you were saying to buy a T-shirt because it helps us financially. I was like, well,
no,
make a crap off those. We just talking about the billboard. That's true, dude. The more that you can get the brand out there, And you'd be surprised at how many people it reaches. Don't let the algorithm when it's down fool you. Dude, when we was in California, we went to Disneyland, and one of the police officers came up and he's like, I know you. He's like, you do? It was dad talk.
Yeah.
You knew it. They
Yeah,
knew who you were. And it was like, okay, I'm on the other side of the country. I take for granted just who might actually see it. You know, I don't get that often, by no means.
Right.
And I don't want that. I want to be the guy in the shadows. But it was one of those,
Right.
it's like you never know who you're reaching. You never know who that one person in the 1,000 or 2,000 views is that needed to hear what you're saying today. It's not about reaching the masses. I would take 5,000 dedicated subscribers over on the Substack that are actually interacting before I would the 750,000 followers on all the other platforms.
Oh, yeah.
Give me 5,000 dedicated soldiers and watch what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it is something though being recognized. I've actually been in restaurants and people are like, I know you.
Really?
You know? Yeah, I don't know if local celebrity, I don't know what, but and I do a lot of community. I say a lot. I do an amount of community help and support, website design and or going to events and stuff. So that. Yeah, I mean, well, one guy I just remember specifically. I was actually at a restaurant for an equal shared parenting event, trying to get information here, and this guy recognized me from something I did with the Rotary that I'm affiliated with, getting their Falls Festival or whatever put together, and some videos and stuff I did for them. But getting out there, being that, and I took that opportunity. Oddly enough, I took that opportunity to talk about equal shared parenting and moving the needle forward. That like, share, subscribe kind of was getting into earlier is, it doesn't need to consume you, but it needs to be when you're out there talking, you've educated yourself and you're able to share, be one, a good steward and a good representation of what the equal shared parenting community is when you're talking to somebody. But also, sharing that and getting people involved. That's the other part of the like, share, subscribe. And then, kind of back to the t-shirt comment. Just to let everybody know, I think all in maybe $1 made net. I mean, net on those t-shirts because the amount of actually
$5.
Okay.
By the time it's printed and shipped and everything.
Yeah. The time on it. So yeah, it's not a moneymaker. It's, again, Eric's trying to do everything he can to get that out there. And I've with the t-shirt that I have, I've gotten conversation started. I've gotten, some leers and some crinkled noses from folks, and some people going, yeah, I'm going to check that out. Oh, I've got all. Be a walking billboard to get this going. If you don't have that gift to go out to strangers or whatever and start the conversation, get a t-shirt. Trust me, the conversation will start. Or find some other way to do it. Just get that out there. Be in your community. Volunteer at the dog program, and it's called whatever throughout the country. But they're dads on whatever for school. You're in the school district talking to people, sharing the information. You're going to reach people.
I mean, so if people could only see when I was traveling around the country doing the conferences, when people would see dad talk. What the hell is that? And when you tell them they were talking about the challenges men face, especially in divorce, you just look like an extremist, terrorist, misogynist. Like, who the hell is this guy? And it put that chip on the shoulder. It was like, you don't even listen. Dude, we're going to be telling Warren's story. I'll get to that a little bit later on, but I think Warren's story is really going to give people an idea of what it's like to fight behind men's rights. This was a guy that started out with women's rights, the head of the National Organization of Women, okay, and talked about this religiously with exclusively to women. And then how it happened, Dwayne, is in order to talk about women's rights, he said it's one thing to just be in here talking to the women saying these are the challenges. If we want to help women, we've got to reach the men. So he started having men's groups to talk to men on how to treat women. Mm-hmm. And then as the men would get integrated in, and they're saying they want the men to be better, anytime the men would speak, they would be silenced. Anytime the men would say that they had an issue, they were silenced. anytime he even tried to bring up anything for men, they didn't want to do it. And that's how he started seeing. He's like, man, I'm sitting here fighting for women's rights. They're saying they're not heard and that they're silenced, but these men can't even speak.
Right.
And so he started trying to integrate that in to the women's rights thing that he was doing. Like, we're having a little bit of a problem because we're actually not listening to the men. And then he just got ignored even more.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes from being the main guest on all of these shows as this feminist to every one of those contacts that he had. The second he started talking about men and dads not wanting anything to do with them.
Gone. Yep.
And he lost, I think, to the tune of $22 to $25 million by coming to talk about men's rights when he was a feminist. Money, hand over fist.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And dude, accepted, treated well. The second he started talking about men and dads, this is what it became. It has this stain to it. Men, they already have the power. Didn't you hear that James Brown song? This is a man's world.
Yeah.
No, it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
No. But it's a very unpopular thing. And they do. They treat us like second-class citizens, which makes me want to do it even more. Because when they get in there and they talk about the research and the statistics and so, oh, man, do research and statistics usually just bore the shit out of people. But I'll give them examples and tell them stories, and they're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. And even if you can prove to them, it's the same as Warren. Go watch it on Oprah. He would make these good points, and then they could not acknowledge that he was making a good point. When you talk about men and dads, nothing is going to be accepted just because you say it doesn't mean they're going to listen to you.
That's some recent stuff. That I've had because again, on my alter ego stuff that I do, again, trying to advance the cause, locally, statewide, and of course nationally and worldwide. But every time I put out a meme or whatever it is that highlights men, and it's not even at the expense of women. It's just the this is there was I think one specifically, it was an article that men get screwed in family court, and invariably my inbox or my the comments are all, it happens to women too, it happens to women too, to the point that I made a reel and a video that shows the data, the national data showing that 93% of females receive child support and get custody. That's according HHS database. And I was a little snarky in the video. I'll be the first one to say it. I had a little sound bubbles that said, or I think it said something like, does it make sense now? Why I can comfortably say what I say about that. But what you were talking about before, one thing, when people are talking about how can I help and do that, be a good example. If I can get a little preachy here, be a good example. Be the kind of man or woman that people will look up to, that will respect. If you're in your words, your deeds, the way you do things, people are watching that, and you're a representative, of the movement. Each person is, for good or for bad, and it's step up, and if you don't know how or too much, whatever, that's something to work on. That's part of the get better every single day. If you have this issue with cussing, which I still do, at least when I'm out in public, I keep that to negative or minimum.
You're an asshole, Dwayne.
I am that. I actually have a t-shirt. That says that's Mr. Asshole to you. I mean, as an example, because like it or not, people are, they'll use whatever they can to make you look bad, and cussing or whatever it is.
Snap. I haven't even asked. I'm going in a completely different direction. Watch this thing go from right to left really quickly. How was your experience meeting Louis Ferrigno?
Oh God, it was awesome. Meeting, for those that don't know, a few weeks ago, I got the honor of meeting Lou Ferrigno, and I got them to sign one of my swords that he used in his 1982 movie, The Six something. I can't remember. I'm tongue tied. Actually, sitting right off camera, my sword. But yeah, it was a highlight. He was an inspiration for me and my brother. For those who don't know, my brother was born deaf, as was Lou Ferrigno. Yeah, Lou Ferrigno was born deaf.
No, I knew Lou. I didn't know your brother was.
Yeah, well, I can give you a 30-second rundown of kind of part of my life in that area, which will give
Well, so I hate to do this to the audience right now. What are you doing today, Dwayne?
What What am I doing today? I'm trying to think. What am I doing today?
We can go live again a little bit later on. I've got
Oh, yeah.
30 minutes to make it to the gym, and I
Uh-oh.
made a promise as a dad that I was going to take a child somewhere, and I've got to keep it.
Got to keep your word.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on going that long, guys, but I'm enjoying being on here and talking to you, and I realize we need to do it a little bit more. Forgive me for my absence; it was needed. I got the gym. I haven't stopped. I've been working all week, just not on camera.
Right.
And
I'm
so,
seeing
but,
doing stuff.
you know, I enjoy being here with you guys. I enjoy, doing this with you too, Dwayne. But maybe we could come back on and do it a little bit again later on.
Oh, yeah.
30 minutes, and I got to keep that promise.
Got to keep the promise. And that's part of the thing for everybody else. Honor your word is one of the kind of cornerstones, especially as a dad. You got to honor your word to your kids and everybody. So yeah, honor your word. Go have fun. I don't know if you want to say what you guys are doing. Anything fun or boring? Getting your nails painted?
No, dude, going to the gym.
Oh, what's your daughter?
I say dad, stepdad. I got criticized for that from some MGTOW guys, but the only boy we got because I had all girls. But he's gotten into lifting weights recently, and he was looking forward to going to the gym with me today. And I want to do it with him. I actually have fun spending, time with him and doing this, and just having little things like that we can do together, healthy things, getting away from the screens. One thing I will tell you guys here recently, the more that I get away from social media, the more that I get healthy and do things into me, I feel so much better. And if I miss a day from that, or if I get on here too much, it messes with you, dude. It really does mess with you. The ugliest parts of the world you will see on here. You will. And I think, this could go in a whole nother discussion. Maybe we could talk about it if we do go back on later.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just because somebody says they're alienated doesn't mean they're alienated. We have a lot of those people that have done the things that we're talking about in here, claiming to be alienated victim parents, calling you the narcissist. Okay. Yeah. And so you have to be very careful and discerning on who, when, where, and how you're talking. And it's because it's there, dude. It's there. And I just hate seeing social media become the place that it is. You know how many texts I've had in that 1 week absence of, you need to check into this advocate. They're not who they say they are. You need to check into this person. I'm like, really? Is that where you're? I got one the other day, like stuff that has nothing to do with me, but advocates talking about other advocates, making videos against other advocates. And I'm like, you guys are freaking nuts.
That's all you can. They're nuts. Some of this stuff is absolutely nutty. But I'm going to force you to keep your word with your bonus son. What time sounds good for you? Just to let the crowd know. I'm good anytime because this has been great. I'm glad to be back in the saddle again and getting this thing rolling.
We could do it later tonight, or we can do. Dude, it probably worked good when I got back home. Probably 12:31, like an hour and a half from now.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
You can roll as long as you want to roll.
Oh yeah, no, that's great for the crowd out there. You guys,
some voicemails.
Yeah, call. What's the number?
762-441-0281. I remember it now.
There you go. Yeah, call in, leave a voicemail for anything that's going on. Talking about whatever topic, limited to 3 minutes, obviously, because we'll cut you off. But yeah, leave a message, and we'll roll through those and look for a notification that we're going to be going live here again. Trying to think of anything else. Do you have a time? You said 12:31. Let's see, it's 2.5 hours from now? It's 12:30.
Maybe sometime around there, yeah.
Yeah, want to just say 1 o'clock that'll give you time to, do your thing with your bonus son and all that.
Okay. I'll text you on my way back.
All right, all right, everybody. It's 1 p.m. Eastern. Get your phones out. Set yourself a little alarm for 12:58, so we all know. All right, so you know that you're going to be on, and we will see you all back here. Actually, I felt like I was taking over there. Sorry, Eric.
No, you're good. We'll see you here in a minute.